שירוק מכסה והמרחב נפתח
Ella explain a little bit about her own background in music. She's a very inspiring young woman and has a lovely family that's here with us today. So please welcome Ella.
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, so nice to be here with you all. My name is Ella Medina. As Kathleen said, I'm the musical director of Alma, Israeli Women's Voice. I'm a choir conductor. I have several children's choirs. I'm a music teacher and a singer. I'm married to Udi. We have 3 kids. They're pretty nice most of the time. And so she asked me to come and speak to you a little bit, to tell you about my personal musical journey. When I think about when music began part of my life, I think it was even before I was born. I was born in Russia, in the former Soviet Union. My mom is a classical pianist and a wonderful piano teacher. And so music was part of my life even when I was in the womb. My mom always says that as a baby, when I used to cry, she would start singing to me. And I would immediately stop crying, and all my attention would be focused on her singing. My parents say that the first song I ever sang was when I was 9 months old, pretty young, and my Russian mama adds that it was correctly, it was very important to her. The song called Чижик-пыжик, it's a well-known Russian children's song. It goes like this. Чижик-пыжик, где ты был? На фонтане водку пил. Выпил рюмку, выпил 2, закружилась в голове. Pretty nice, right? Someone knows this maybe? Or can you guess what it's about? You know this?
I know that.
You know this, so what it's about?
I'm from Poland. I know what it is.
So this song is about a young man, probably a teenager, who goes to the fountain to drink vodka. So he drinks 1 shot, and then he drinks another shot, and then his head starts to spin. You know, a real classical children's song, a proper children's song, right? Of course, I sang it without the lyrics. I was 9 months old. When I was about 2 or 3 years old, my mom saw I have a very good music hearing. Musicians call it a perfect pitch. You know what it is? It's when you hear the notes playing or singing and you know what they are without seeing them. And it was very important for my mom that I would have a proper musical education, like a proper Russian mama. So she started playing a game with me. I would have to close my eyes and she would play a note on the keyboard, on the piano, and I would have to find it by ear. So at first it was just 1 note, then it became 2 notes simultaneously, then it became 3 notes, and the combination, the harmonies of those notes became much more challenging. I loved this game. I was pretty good at it. When I was 5, I finally started taking proper classes at the music conservatory in my hometown. Twice a week I started taking piano lessons. Now, I know what you all must think. At 5 years old, studying in the music conservatory, right? Why so late, right? What was my mom waiting for? Right? You graduate college? But she really did invest in me. I loved music and I loved the piano, but I hated practicing, which I had to do every day for at least an hour or 2. But mostly I just loved singing. My most favorite thing in the world was when my mom would accompany me on the piano and I would sing. I started performing to family and friends early on. I loved it. I loved the stage. I loved the attention. Felt very comfortable, and it was just so fun for me. When I was 7, my parents made a life-changing decision. We left Russia and we made Aliyah to Israel. Yeah. It was the beginning of the big Aliyah from Russia, from the Soviet Union. It was 1991. In fact, we aborted the plane on December 31st and landed 1990 and landed on January 1st, 1991. I don't know if you know this, but here in Israel, we have many holidays. We have Hanukkah and Purim, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Pesach, and many more. But in Russia, we pretty much had one, but the best one. Novi God, of course. The New Year's. So that year, we spent the New Year's, the Novi God, on the plane, welcoming not only the new year, but also a whole new life. I don't come from a religious family. In fact, back then, during the communism, religion was forbidden for everybody. So I have no recollection of my parents ever speaking to me about God. And somehow, when I boarded that plane, I was a girl with a mission. I just knew that I would be the first person alive to see God sitting on a cloud. No one else has ever seen him, but I just knew I will. I promised myself I won't fall asleep. It was nighttime, and I would catch a glimpse of him. So, spoiler, I did not see God that day. It was nighttime, I fell asleep, it was dark, and I finally got tired of trying to see something in the dark. I woke up just as the plane was about to land. And when it did, something magical happened. And I actually have tears in my eyes when I think about it, because it was so special, that moment. The people on the plane, they started singing, all of them, together. They sang Hava Nagila and Havenu Shalom Alechem. We brought peace to you. And it was such a spontaneous moment, because the people on the plane, they were all strangers, but they shared this special moment of Jewish people coming to the state of Israel, to the Jewish country for the first time. The people, they were overjoyed, they were anxious, they were scared, they were excited, and so they started singing. You know, when we stepped down the plane, the Israelis who welcomed us started singing as well. Shalom, Havenu Shalom Alechem. They were holding Israeli flags, and they gave gifts to us, the children. When I grew up, I often thought about how music became part of that moment. And I think it's because, as people, we need music in the happiest and in the lowest points of our life. And there was this shared experience that the people on the plane, they could not express it with words, but they could express it by singing. My parents made a surprising decision. They chose to come and live in a small town called Zichron Yaakov. And I say it's a surprising decision because most of the Russian immigrants who came back then chose to come to the big cities like Haifa, Be'er Sheva, Ashdod, Ashkelon, where there was a high Russian population. But my parents got the advice of a distant relatives who came to Israel in the 70s and told about Zichron Yaakov being a very nice small town. And so my parents came there. And I became the first Russian girl ever in my school. I remember the first day like it was yesterday. I came dressed like a proper Russian girl, poofy dress, 2 huge hairbands on my head. Do you know what Russian girl student looks like with the hairbands? It was like a freaking carnival grew up on my head. Yeah. I must have looked so weird to the kids. I was standing in front of the class. I knew no Hebrew. I knew 2 words, Shalom and Todah, hello and thank you. I understood that the teacher is probably introducing me, but I did not know what she was saying. And there was this little girl. She was sitting on the front row. She suddenly stood up, pushed the boy sitting next to her aside, came up to me, grabbed me by the hand, and sat me down right next to her. And that was it. It was my initiation party, ceremony. The kids of the class, they were so excited that the Russian weird alien was placed in their class. They were so happy. The next thing I remember was at recess between classes. All the kids of the class were around me, and they started giving me their stuff, pencils, crayons, markers. I came back home that day with my bag exploding from the gifts they all gave to me. The kids, Russian kids who came a few months after me and a few years after me, they got a much different welcoming party. But I was very lucky. There was no one in my school I could speak to in Russian, so I had to learn Hebrew very quickly. And my parents say that in less than 3 months, I started speaking almost fluently. My parents, however, had it much more difficult because it's so much more harder to start a new life when you're in your 30s with 2 small children and in a new country. But here's the beautiful thing. My mom quickly discovered that even though she could not speak Hebrew, she could still be a wonderful pianist because music is music everywhere. Music is an international language. In fact, if you think about it, there is no country or a civilization on the planet that doesn't have music as part of its cultural DNA. You can travel to a remote tribe in Africa, people who never saw electricity or heard about the internet, and you would find out they have their own songs, their own rhythms, their own music. And so my mom started performing and even teaching. She did not know how to speak Hebrew, but she learned it from her students. One of her first jobs here in Israel was she started accompanying a new children's choir who started to work in Zichron Yaakov in my hometown. She, of course, brought me along with her because I loved singing. And it was my first time in a choir. The conductor, Rivka Ad, had a daughter. She was my age. Her name was Ella too. We quickly became great friends. And I simply fell in love with singing in a choir. I met children who were like me, who loved to sing. I learned about a shared responsibility. I learned about listening, because you know, singing together is about listening as it is about singing. And I spent my entire childhood singing in that choir and other choirs adding to my list as well. When I was 13, my mom started accompanying another choir. This time, it was a women's choir. And again, she brought me along with her because by then I have been singing in a children's choir for 5 or 6 years. I knew how to read music notes better than most of the women because I've been playing the classical piano since I was 5. And at first I was shy because I was the only girl there, but I quickly started singing along and became a regular. Those women in the choir, they were much older than me. They were in their 20s, 30s, even 50s and 60s. But they became my friends, my older friends. They shared their life stories with me, their life experiences. And it was my first time being part of a women's circle. And after the 2 days you've spent, I'm sure all of you can feel how special it is when women come together, especially when they sing together. It was in that choir I met Carmel. Say hello, Carmel. Carmel is our amazing manager at Alma and singer. And Carmel came to the choir when I was about 14, 15, and she quickly became my all-time favorite. Carmel is a real-life superwoman. I want to tell you a little bit about her.
She's exaggerating.
No, I'm not. She's being modest. She has 5 kids. She's a real super mom. Yeah. And Carmel always had the best attitude. She was always positive, always with a smile on her face. She knew how to set goals for herself, for the choir. She was the manager of that choir as well. She knew how to handle challenges. She never took no for an answer, but always did it with style, still do. And she could probably sell ice to Eskimos, as they say. And we shared a very special bond ever since that. I sang in that choir for 13 years with periods I have to leave, like when I was 18 and I joined the army. I was an officer in the army for a period of time. And fast forward a little bit, I'm in my 20s. I'm on my last year at college. I studied music education and conducting. And I got a call one day from Rivka Ad. Let's see who was listening. Who is Rivka Ad? The conductor of the children's choir. That's right. Very good. So Rivka told me she was about to retire. And she asked me if I would want to come and take her place as the conductor of the children's choir. I was very surprised. Up until then, I've been studying, but I had very little experience working with children's choirs. And so I told her, well, don't you want to ask someone who is much more experienced and will do a much better job than me? And she told me, no, you know what, I think you'll be good at it. And I believe in you. Come and give it a try. And there was this voice in my head. I think it's a voice many of us has sometimes, saying, you can't do that. Don't be arrogant. You won't be good at it. Don't even try, right? Because there is this fear of failure sometimes. But I remembered what Rivka told me, and that she believed in me, and I decided to try. And so I did. I started working with the kids, and I absolutely fell in love with children singing all over again, this time from a new perspective as a conductor. I now have 3 children's choirs, and I absolutely adore the kids who sing in my choirs. 5 years ago, fast forward a little bit, I got a call from Carmel. We stayed in touch all those years. And Carmel told me she wanted to start a new female a cappella ensemble. And she asked me whether I wanted to come and sing in this professional ensemble, and even maybe if I wanted to be the musical director. By then, I was married. I had 2 small children. And again, this voice in my head stood up and told me, well, you've been working pretty successfully with children choirs, but you don't have enough experience working with professional singers, and you probably can't do it. And also, I really wanted to be a good mom, like any mom wants to, right? And for me, it meant to be a present mom at all times. And I was afraid at that time to give myself the opportunity to fulfill my own professional dreams. And so I told Carmel, you know what, I will come and I will sing, but you should ask someone else to be the musical director. And so we started working with a wonderful colleague and friend of mine, Shirley Berlinski. She was the first musical director. And after about a year, from different reasons, Shirley had to step down. And something happened to me during that year and a half. Even though my 3rd child was born and it was a hectic time, I suddenly saw that life isn't waiting around for me. And maybe I can be both a loving mom, a devoted mom, but also someone who pursues after her own personal dreams. And maybe seeing a busy mom, but a happy mom, can be a good and healthy thing for my kids as well. And so I decided to be brave, and I went for it. And now's the time I want to tell you about Alma, because this ensemble is so dear to my heart. And I'm sure you will enjoy it. Alma was created by Carmel. And Carmel and I, from the beginning, had a shared vision about Alma. We wanted an ensemble that would inspire and give the front stage to female musicians. You know, we live in a time where we're told that girls can do anything, and they can. It's wonderful. But if you think about it, music is actually still one of those fields who is very much male-based. Most of the conductors, most of the writers, malchinim, composers. Oh, thank you, I lost the word. Most of the composers are still male, and we wanted to give the female musicians the front row stage. And so we started working with different musicians, female, and we had the honor and the privilege to perform and record many original pieces by arrangers, composers, artists, poets, female. And so it was very important to us. When I first met Kathleen, she asked me what the name Alma means. So Alma is a name who was chosen by Carmel. It's an international word. It means a soul in Spanish. And in Hebrew, it's a common Israeli female name. When pronounced Alma, it means a damsel, a young woman. And so I think it was so fitting of Carmel to choose this name, who means a woman and a soul. Those two meanings go so well together, and I think that our ensemble does it justice, if you can say so. I'm about to finish. First of all, I want to thank you to all of you. You know, when Kathleen told me about the subject of these 2 days, female musician bringing an inspiring message of hope in difficult times, I of course thought about the COVID and the last 2 years and how difficult it was for the world. But I simply cannot end this conversation without addressing what is going on in the world right now, because I think it brings a whole new meaning to difficult times. So I want to use this stage to send a message of hope and peace, and hopefully the situation in Ukraine would resolve itself as quickly as possible. I heard a woman, a Ukrainian woman, speaking on the television a few days ago. She was asked how she's coping with her small children. What is she saying to them about the situation, how she explains it. And she told the man who asked her that she can't find the right words, but every time they hear the bombing and the kids are scared, she starts singing, because it calms her down and it calms them down. And I can only hope that singing would be a joyous occasion and not like this. And I want to tell all of you that singing is a birthright for everybody. Everybody can sing. And I want you all to sing along with us soon in the concert. Okay? Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't sing. Never. So keep singing. Keep celebrating the women in your life. And for all the women here, keep celebrating yourself for all that you are. Thank you for coming and for listening. And now I can say that it was my first time ever speaking in English like this. How did I do? I was very nervous before, but you were such a wonderful audience, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful audience for our singing. So enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
The way of beauty. Beauty is not just about the outside beauty, it's the inner beauty.
The music was great.
Absolutely.
We saw new places, archaeological sites that we haven't seen before. We liked the music very much. We met the nuns that we enjoyed a great deal to talk to and laugh. And we met many people from all over the world.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary. A real time out from time. Yes.